I just want a little bit about the psychology of change. How many of you are a little freaked out? Anybody?
How many are excited?
Who's lying? Yeah.
That's why there's so many people.
Yeah. So anyway, when there's change, it's a little confusing because we go from order, which is what we have today. Today we have order. All of us know exactly how to do our business today, right? So that's order. So order is comfortable. That's a good place for us to be in our mind. But then this more thing has brought up disorder. Okay, so we're going from order to disorder. Are we ever going to be able to go back to order? No, we're not. We're not going to go back to order. Okay, because we can't go back after July, the middle of July. We can't go back here. But what we are going to do is we're going to go here to reorder. Okay, so we have 4 months between now and when this kicks in, that your brokers, NAR, Salt Lake Board of Realtors, UAR, we're all going to figure this out. Okay, and it's going to be a process of reorder. We're going to have a process that's going to be orderly, and we're going to be able to teach you how to do business. Okay, so what's your question? So we're not going to take questions today because we don't want to go down a rabbit hole. We have special guests scheduled for today in training. We're actually going to have a special session.
We're going to do it on Thursday, right after, with a little break, after this 75 Thrive person, because it's going to be a super great content. But so 2 o'clock on Thursdays when we're going to do a deeper dive, answer everyone's questions. But we want to go over some of the stuff to be looking for. This is nothing to be fearful of. In my opinion, who should be afraid of this?
First time home buyers.
Not first-time home buyers, and who did you say?
Being educated.
The people who aren't being educated, and if you own and operate an MLS, right? So in the past, an MLS is what? Compensation for cooperation. So I would put my home up for sale. I would say, I'm going to pay you 3% to Ken if you bring me a buyer that we can accept your offer, right? That's how it's worked. Since they're removing that, that is really ultimately the biggest change, is that they're removing that from the MLS. Do we still have ways to get compensated? How? Negotiate on what?
Contract on the addendum.
On your contract. What contract are we referring to? Your listing contract is what? You put a commission amount on there, right? And then on your buyer's agency, you guys put commission amounts on there. Oh, you guys are set. You guys are golden. Problem solved, right? So one of the biggest changes, and this is not you guys, this is everyone else, is that you have to have a buyer's agency signed before you show property.
Before you show property.
You guys hear that?
Oh,
I know every one of you guys do that every time, right? Don't we always, haven't we always said that that's how you're supposed to do it? But then we wink and we say, but that's not how it always works in real life, right? Someone calls off the sign and say, hey, Ken, can you show me this property? And you're like, nope, not without a buyer's agency. Do we say that? We will now. Okay. The proposed settlement is pending, so back to July. No changes related to listing brokerages offer until July, right? So no more BAC in the MLS. Where can we advertise that?
Everywhere else. That's brokerage. The answer is
everywhere else.
And
everywhere
there's systems that are developed for that, Keller Williams. That's the thing is over the next 4 months, there are going to be methodology for this. So just take a deep breath. It's all good. We're going to figure it out. We're going to reorder things and life will be good.
Back in the olden days, this is when we had landlines. We used to be able to come to our team meetings and say, hey, you guys, I got the great new listing coming up. If you guys bring me an offer, I'm going to pay you 3.5%. right? But you have until this deadline, it goes in the MLS, then I'm gonna only offer 3. We used to be able to say that. Do you know that? Guess what? We can do that again. Isn't that awesome? Yeah, it's awesome. One of the other changes that's not so much of a big deal because we've always been able to do a version of it. We can mark it in the MLS any seller concession. So if Lindsay, if you say, hey, with the full price offer, we're gonna redo all the flooring with an allowance up to 15 grand, you can now market the crap out of that.
They're actually getting a drop down in the MLS for specific concessions. I have mixed feelings about it. I think you're losing a little negotiating power there, but
My question about that is what about like loan limits? Because there are seller concession loan limits. So
Yep.
those concessions are gonna have to be.
Check, lender,
That's good.
whatever may apply.
They gotta be with the
Yep.
Yeah,
Now, one of the big changes is some of those agents who would go out and they talk to the buyer and they say, you get my services for free because the seller pays it. Guess what? You can no longer say it. We haven't really been able to say that for quite some time, but I'm sure there's still agents who do say that.
Or they say a reduced commission. I'll work for 1% because that sounds really easy, right? When in reality, they knew they would get at least 2.5% from the seller. That's gonna be over. So you have to have your commission predetermined in your agreement. If you put 1%, you're working for 1%. Okay, obviously it can be changed by addendum. That's the other thing is don't feel like everything is etched in concrete. There's addendums to the buyer broker agreement. There's addendums to the ERS. Everything can be amended based on how things kind of progress. So you may have a situation where you have an addendum or 2 in a transaction based on compensation, just depending on how things kind of work out. So it is amendable, but what come to closing, whatever that document says, that's what you're gonna get paid, regardless of whatever else happens in the transaction.
Yeah, so in the past, well, up until July, a lot of times we'll do our buyer's agency contract at a, let's say a 3. The seller offers a 3.5, and we were just keeping that extra half, right? Or typically it's probably the opposite, right? And we just are okay with it. So there's no more of that. It's got to be in writing, whatever it may be. So there's an opportunity, a large opportunity that it will vary and change. So you will have to do addendums to do it.
On both the listing side and the buyer side.
So
Correct.
if you write
Compensation is
3%,
gonna match.
right? And, or let's say you wrote 2%. Do you have to tell that to the listing agent?
No.
What you wrote in that agreement?
You want to have a conversation. Okay, so
I'm just curious.
in the commercial world, this is pretty common, what we're moving towards. I think it was a big change and a big shock, I think, because I think they wanted more disclosure instead of less disclosure, because they're taking away what I would consider order, and they're gonna make it a little bit of the Wild West, at least for a minute. But in the commercial world, let's say Corey's got a commercial listing, right? And it's a non-MLS listing. I would call Corey and say, I got buyers interested in 123 Main Street. What kind of compensation are you guys offering? And we would have that conversation. Now, that's really kind of what's going to happen here. And then Corey would say, well, I'm offering, if you bring me a buyer, I'll pay a 3%. So if your contract says a 2%, then you would get it in writing that his is a 3. You would have to go back to your buyer and say they're willing to pay a 3. And so they would need to do an addendum for that extra 1, or he doesn't have to pay the 3. You only have to pay the 2. Is that making sense?
Yeah.
So we got to have those conversations.
If you say, for example, if you say 2, 2.5, or above,
Can't get rid of.
No, it can't be arranged.
yeah, it can be a range. It has to be specific. It can't be up to. It has to be a specific number.
Let's hold the rest of our questions for Thursday, okay?
Yeah, we got a lot of good stuff, but what I want to say is you got to learn how to articulate your value as an individual. I'm actually excited about this. I'm going to start putting 4% on everything. So one of the changes that we had not that long ago, I don't even know, it was probably a couple of years ago, and then it just recently changed again, was on the listing contract, right? You would put your total commission, then you would put what you're going to offer to the other agent for BAC. That gave us the opportunity to have 2 different conversations about commissions, right? I'm going to charge 4. What would you like to offer the buyer, the buy side, right? It forced you to have that conversation. This is going to force you to have that even more. So that doesn't mean they don't have to offer, I mean, I guess they can choose not to offer anything to the other side when you go on a listing, but they don't have to, right? So I'm gonna say, I want 4. How much would you like to pay? Because I think there's a huge consumer out there, it's probably the media saying commissions are now gonna be 2% or they're gonna be lower, are they? No, no,
I think they're gonna be
no.
higher. So I guess that's negotiate or
Yeah.
what we're
Right.
truly
So if I say 4, then we'll go from there,
Beat it 3.
maybe.
Yeah.
So
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, that and like right now you see all the reduced commissions on the MLS. Those are gonna go away. Now when you send an offer, you're gonna ask
Yeah.
Yep.
for our non-standard fees.
Right.
Yeah.
We paid on behalf.
Yeah, it's about finding your value and communicating your value. Gary Keller and Jay Papasan are doing a value squared training on March 26th, I believe it is.
There's
Yeah,
several
we
days.
have it here in the office on April 10th.
April 10th.
Yeah.
So put that in your calendar. Are we gonna stream that here?
Yes.
Okay, we'll be streaming that here. That's a great thing to have.
So, not, this is a different topic, but kind of along the same, for our 75 Thrive, the topic is mind share, social media, basically, right?
Be the mayor of your city.
Yeah, be the mayor of your city. That's gonna be an awesome class. And then we're going to do a deeper dive, more of a mastermind, answer more questions, help everyone feel more comfortable with these changes directly after that. So come to both of those sessions, then we can answer more questions. But don't be afraid of this, you guys.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid of it.
The other thing I think is important to remember, this could change. I mean, this was straight from Mike Miller. He's like, here's the things we're looking at right now. This will change 100 times over the next little bit. This isn't even a settlement that's actually approved in stone. And I'm glad we live in Utah. Guys, we had to use buyer's agency.
Yeah.
39 states did not have buyer's agency.
In Iowa, they don't. So
Yeah.
in Iowa, we
39
trained his
states.
cousin a little bit. They don't allow them to sign the buyer broker until they write the offer on the property. They don't
Yeah.
allow them.
So we're so far ahead. Don't be fearful
It's
of it.
really
Just
weird. Yeah.
work through it.
Yeah, so me and Kim were talking about this, and I truly believe, after you seeing kind of what the terms of this possible settlement are, I really believe it was driven by homes.com and LoopNet. They're the same company. That's some of their companies. I don't know if you guys knew this, but they are the world's largest MLS. Did you guys know that?
Homes.com.
No, not CoStar, but one of their companies. So what happened, the story is in New York, because there's so many different housing types and commercial types, right? There's so many different variations. There was a bunch of infighting, the boards and the MLSs. And so they saw an opportunity. They went in, this is like 10 years ago, and I only know this because I was an MLS director for years. They went into New York and created a version where every property that has a tax ID number for rent or for sale, commercial, recreation, whatever it was, and they created like a version of LoopNet, CoStar, a version of an MLS. Then they went out and offered it free to all the agents, and that has how they got the stronghold and became the world's largest MLS. They do not have compensation on there. That's why I think I personally think that they funded this. Because they're the only one out of all this, because the consumer doesn't benefit from this. So they're the only people I see benefiting from this is that company. Crazy.
Because they charge
Oh, there's that charges.
a lot.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, guys, thank you.
Wait, thank you.
We figured it out.
Okay, so on that same note, thanks. That's exactly why we are having today's meeting is, like Sean said, we just need to double down on our value proposition. And I think we all know that if we know what we're paying for, then if we know the value, then we're willing to pay more. Like, I'm willing to pay for a Mercedes for a reason, you know, people are willing to pay for nice things if you know what you're getting out of it, right? So we're gonna spend some time today and Russie's gonna go over your buyer experience, your buyer services, and I've got a little treat that I'm gonna give to you at the end too. But our special guest is on here and I'm super freaking excited because you guys know that we're bringing both here and it's gonna be here at Enwar, up north, like this is for you guys specifically. And Russie and I decided to bring it here during this time, like it was by design that we chose now. Because through our leadership conversations, the majority of our conversations last year with experienced agents that have been doing this for 5-10 years and agents who got in the business over, the boom, there's been a lot of talk about just mindset, like agents, like our businesses are still doing awesome. Like last year, our office broke records in the amount of listings that we've taken. We broke records last month. And the most common conversation that I feel like we've been having is mindset. I think that to an extent, we all got, we got into bad habits because we're trying to keep our head above water. Some of the agents that came in when it was so busy didn't learn the real skill set of how to keep a deal together or creative negotiations, right? So this is why we felt like it was a great opportunity to bring Bold to kind of get like our butts back in gear, like get the energy back, like get our swagger back. And I'm even more excited now, especially because of these new changes with the buyer broker agreement, that this is the perfect way that you can get dialed in and laser focused and learn from somebody who knows exactly what they're doing. And we're gonna love what we do, and we're gonna keep on doing it. So I asked Steven, who is our Bold coach, to come hop on. I wanted you guys to all meet him officially, kind of get a feel for him, his vibe, his energy. He's freaking awesome. I have the schedule for Bold on here for you guys, and on the other side, there's the QR code for you to sign up if you'd like. But I'm gonna let Steven take it away. Can I make him bigger at all?
Make him bigger.
Yeah.
I don't know if he wants to
If
be
you
bigger.
hold on one sec, Steven.
Okay, I can do that.
Oh,
I love the intro though. Thank you for that.
one sec, Steven. Hold on. Can you talk? Say something.
I can talk. Hear me? Can you hear me?
Hello?
You can't hear me? Hello, I'm here. Can you hear me?
He looks frozen.
Can you hear me?
Ben, you're frozen. We're taking.
No, I'm.
We're taking-
You still can't hear me?
Say something. Hello?
Hello,
Bueller?
Bueller. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? You still can't hear me?
Now I have that song in my head.
I love it.
Yeah, the people on Zoom can hear me.
Can somebody, can we say in chat, can everybody hear him? Us? Hear him? It's us?
It's us.
Yeah, Jessica can hear me. Thank you, Jessica. The people on chat look really good today. Let me tell you what. They got their makeup on and everything. It's beautiful. Don't you love technology? It's my favorite.
Yeah, there are a lot of remotes up there.
There you are.
Oh, yeah. I'm gonna grab you in just a minute.
Jeremy's one.
Once they figure out the technological difficulties. I just love Zoom. It's like my favorite. Change your audio output. Okay. My audio output. I need to.
Here we go. We're here. Hi.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes, we're good now.
All right, perfect. Someone said I need to change my audio output, but I don't think that was me. So
Fine, everything's fine.
I think it was for you guys. Now I'm learning. All right, hang on. Let me come out of here. All right, how y'all doing today? Thank you for having me on.
Doing good.
Yeah, really good, especially after your brokers were talking about all that fun stuff with NAR, huh? I love following that kind of stuff. So yes, thank you, Eden, for the introduction. I really appreciate it. Guys, did you hear her though? She said I'm freaking awesome 2 times. So it must be true. Again, thank you for having me. One thing I wanted to talk about. So this is like a good personal question for you, just to dive right in. I'm gonna be your coach here on April 8th, like you see on the screen. Can you just highlight me and take my goofy face down? That way I could talk to everybody a little bit more personally. Let's do that as well. So one thing I want you to think about, where is your mindset right now with everything going on? If you had to like rank your mindset on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being you're like in heaven, And one being you're like, I'm quitting this crazy thing called real estate. I can't handle it anymore. Oh, no, I froze again.
We can hear you. You're
Where
good.
would you still hear me? Okay, good. Where would your mindset be? On a scale of 1 to 10. You don't have to share it with your neighbor. I just want you to be honest. With everything going on right now, I'm gonna give you a chance to think about it. So, do you believe now that energy is contagious? Yes or yes? It is. And so if our mindset around what's going on with NAR is not where it could be or should be, I love Spencer. He says absolutely agreed. Someone said 100%. So if our mindset is not where it could be or should be, and we get to sit down with a buyer and do what Eden just talked about and present and talk about our value proposition, will we be able to take the business like we did before? Probably not, right? You see what Gary talks about in shifting market. What's so scary is what used to work may not work now. That's the challenge with the shifting market. So how do we overcome that? Well, we overcome that by focusing on the two things that we can control. Do y'all know what the two things we can control are? The two things we have control over. Because we know we can't control what NAR does, or even what our clients decide. What are the two things we have control over? There's only two things. Anyone want to make a guess?
Attitude, action,
Yes, our attitude / mindset. So I gave you one of them. Perfect. What else?
what we think and what we do.
Perfect. Yes. What we're going to do about it. What are we going to do? And so the question is, do you know exactly what to say? Do you know exactly how you're going to say it? When you're going to say it? When it's time to overcome the objection of this whole co-op commission NAR conversation? Do we know? Are we prepared for that? Are we skilled enough to go and take the business that we want?
We will
And
be.
that, along with the market challenge that we're going through, right? So think about like all of that's going on just right now in this market. Thank you. Oh, check that out. So think about that. Are you ready? Are you ready to take your unfair share? Because here's the thing I know about what's going to happen. There's a whole bunch of things that I don't know how it's going to turn out. But this I do know without a fact. There are going to be people, individuals, agents, businesses, and companies that make a killing over the next few months. And then there are going to be people that quit, that don't know how to overcome this challenge or this change in our industry. The only thing that's for sure is the fact that this industry will always and constantly be changing. And so if we are not changing and growing as well, then we will get left behind. And I intend, as your bold coach, starting on April 8th, I intend to help you change in the necessary ways that you need to in order for you to go and create the business and the life that you want. Because someone help me remember, what does BOLD stand for? What is the acronym BOLD? Anyone want to yell it out for me?
Business objective life by design.
Business objective life by design. And if we just sit back and wait, because we have two choices. Today, I just talked this. I just got done. I'm actually in BOLD. That's why I'm on my phone. I'm in BOLD right now, finishing in Idaho Falls, in Twin Falls, Idaho. Excuse me, not Idaho Falls, Twin Falls, Idaho. And we just talked about being accountable. And you have a choice when life shows up. Inevitably, life will show up. We get to choose whether we're going to have a victim mindset or we're going to be accountable. Now, being accountable is focusing on what we can control, what we're going to say, and how we're going to show up. And so if we know what to say, when we say it, when's the right time to say it, how to ask the right questions, how do we present our value proposition in a shifting market, nothing is guaranteed. However, the probability that you succeed drastically increases. Right? And that's what Bold is all about. Business Objective Life by Design is helping you create a business so that you can design your life instead of creating a life by default or business by default. So yes, is the market crazy right now? Absolutely. That's exactly why I want you in Bold. That's exactly like what Eden said. That's exactly why your leadership team has asked for Bold to come to your market. Okay. Now I want to share a quick story and then I'm going to grab them because it's so cool that I'm in Bold. I can have these people. They're real life people. Okay. Now this may resonate with you and it may not because maybe you're crushing it and that's okay too. However, I've had some people say, and by show of hands, who would say that the market is a little bit funky? NAR challenges withstanding. Let's just put that aside for now. Who would say that the market is a little funky right now? A little weird? If you agree with that, raise your hand for me. Agreed. And so here's what I mean by that. I had an ALC member that's in Bold with me, and we went to dinner a couple of weeks ago when I fly into Twin Falls and I come in on Monday night and then I coach Bold on Tuesday. And I went to dinner with a couple of the students in Bold. The night before we did Bold, it was step 4, whatever it was. And we were sitting there and she was sharing with me the fact that the previous week, she had finally put her first deal under contract. Now, mind you, she's on the Agent Leadership Council. She's in the top 20% of the market center here. She's a killer, right? And she put her first deal under contract between step 3 and step 4 for the year 2024. So a little bit off of her goal, wouldn't you think? First deal under contract. And she said, I was an advocate for Bold because my mindset, because of what was going on in the market and our local market and in the national market with interest rates where they're at, with all of these concerns around these lawsuits, my mindset and my actions were not where they needed to be. So I begged our leadership to bring Bold here because I knew it would help me. So then after that, between step 4 and step 5, she put 4 more deals under contract and took 2 more listings. And then did a Bold 100 and got 5 more additional leads. And actually, I just found out today, she did another Bold 100 yesterday and got a whole bunch more leads. But that's what happens when you surround yourself with an environment of productivity and profitability. That's what occurs, right? And that's what I'm hoping that you all will see when you come on April 8th. When you surround yourself with like-minded individuals that want a better opportunity than you currently have because of regardless of what's happening. Maybe you're a brand new agent and you want to sell your first deal. Maybe you're a super successful agent that your numbers are a little bit down. Maybe you're an agent that's crushing it and you don't want to lose the momentum that you've created, regardless of where you're at in your business and your year right now and your goals. Bold will help you. I promise you that. Now, I know I have a biased opinion, right? And so does Eden a little bit because she's really pushing it and she knows that this will be valuable for you. So instead of just listening to me, I'm going to come grab one of these agents and check this out. I'm going to have her come. This is a real life person. Okay. And she agreed to talk to you so it's not just me. This is one of your peers right here that's going to testify to this. Check this out. Here you go.
Hi guys, my name is Alicia Cochran and I am Bold.
Hi, Lisa.
Thanks. So we really fought this year to get Bold in our market center. As a top producer, we noticed a lot of our top producers' mindsets were really, really down. Just our passion for real estate had definitely changed over the last 4 years. So we really fought to bring Bold here, and I'm so glad we did because the last few months, my commission's been nothing. And now with Bold, I've done 4 Bold 100s this Bold. And my business is exploding beyond what I can even handle, which is great. So I'm going to get to make a couple hires this year and just start my mindset's back, which is a huge thing. And the accountability, every chance I get, I fight to get Bold in our market center so that we can just have that accountability and that mindset help. Because, you know, the 2 things you can control is your mindset and your actions, and accountability for your actions is huge.
What kind of production did you have while in Bold?
Oh my goodness, I'm winning our listing competition in our office. So I've listed a few properties. I put 4 under contract, and previously in the last 4 months, I had 0 under contract. So, and a lot of it was my actions and my mindset. Yep.
How about that?
I also sold a few that I have had listed since like July that were not moving. So get that mindset, get those prices reduced. have those right conversations, know what to say in those conversations, and get those houses moved.
That's right.
Yep.
Thank you,
Enjoy
Alicia.
your bold.
Thanks, Alicia.
There you go. That's a peer-to-peer testimonial. So I have another friend. I just figured I'd allow someone else to our hone. I didn't even know what I'm saying. To our horn, if you will. And so I have another ALC member, top agent in bold with me right now. And the question I want to ask him, I'm gonna put him on the screen, and this is the question. Would you sign up for bold again? And I'll just follow it up with another one so he can go and take it away, was bold worth the investment? Because it wasn't only him that was in bold with us, it was a few of his team members. So was bold worth the investment, and is bold worth it for you right now? Did it help you?
All right. Hey guys, what's that?
Be loud.
Be loud. All right. Jeremy Orton here. Hey, 100%. Yes, bold is worth it. This was my 7th bold that we're just finishing up here, and I go every time it's available here, and I love it so much that the members on my team, I also require them to attend, and we pay for our team members to attend as well. So it makes a difference in our businesses, both as individual agents as well as teams. And so no matter where you're at in your business, 100% feel that that it's, if you want to change your business, change your mindset, change your world, do bold 100%. It's always worth it. So, and I have a major love-hate relationship with it because it's a time commitment, right? It's a monetary investment, but the return is always worth it. And so do it.
Awesome.
So, all right.
Thank you, Jeremy.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. How about that? 2 people. They're 2 live human beings that aren't a bold coach or leadership that have gone through 7 steps of bold with me. And I have a whole bunch of other people here that I could grab. I didn't tell either of them that they were going to be on this call. I just asked them because I wanted their raw reaction for you today. So what I trust that did for you as you listen to those 2 testimonies is at least gave you the confidence that you could show up on April 8th, give this thing a test, like give it a try. What do you have to lose? We're buying you lunch. We're buying you drinks. And I'm basically promising you that you're going to get business from day 1. Step 1, you will earn business. I average 1.5 referrals on day 1. And so if you want the opportunity to correct your mindset or help your mindset, understand what to do, what to say, when to say it, and the right time to say it during this crazy time to add value, because cost becomes a conversation when there's a lack of perception of value, show up on April 8th. I know it's funky on Zoom, and I do my best to explore and explain the value of bold here for the few minutes that I have, but I trust this was valuable for you today. I can't wait to see all of you there. Eden, you got anything else for me? Any other questions you want? Any questions you want to ask me?
Charm, baby. Thank you, Steven, so much.
I didn't hear you. You're welcome. Hey, you guys are awesome. Be bold. Thank you all for being on the call.
Yes.
See you in a couple weeks.
Bye.
Bye.
You're my bias. You can come in the truth. Who's gonna do it? Who wants to do both? I'm doing it. We've got lots of people who are gonna do it. Yes. If the investment's a concern, come and talk to leadership. Like, we don't want there to be a reason why you guys don't do it. Like, this is gonna be awesome. Worst case scenario, come to day 1, test drive it, see what you think try before you buy, right? So I'm so excited. Have you guys seen that GIF? That's like, let's go, girls, and then they kick the door down. They're super amped. That's what they get. Let's go, girls.
Should we do that?
Yes.
First stage.
First day. The first day's gonna be.
I wonder what.
We get a bill for
What?
$7,000.
I was just
It's okay, it's a rental. That's where our board dues go to. It's fine. Everything's fine. Okay, before we get into the good stuff, we got a couple more announcements. We first wanted to do a quick market update so you guys know where we're at with the market, where things are moving. And then the Burdeners have an amazing subdivision coming up. So when you're talking with buyers and everything, we want to make sure that you know of some things that are coming on the market. So they're going to share with us what they've got going on, and then we'll get going. Bring it on up, my guy.
Cool. I'm just gonna take a couple of seconds, but
I did want to take a minute and actually just congratulate this room for an amazing February. I'm not sure everybody can appreciate what actually happened in February this year. So I'm gonna take you back a few months. Think about October, November, and some of the conversations that we were having about first quarter. Anybody, does that bring anything to mind? What was the general tone?
Don't let off the gas.
Don't let off the gas. Why? What were we
Few months
concerned
looking-
about? Yeah, we were pretty concerned, weren't we? We had one of our best Februarys ever.
Ever,
Ever.
on record, since this office has been open.
Yep. So let me share this. Well, they're good at karate, let me share. Karate, excuse me. So, the first section I'm gonna share really quick is this upper box right here is just sort of our performance against some of our own expectations, okay? We set internally, just like you do, we set goals. You can see that we exceeded our closed units by 40%, our listings by 28%, contracts written by almost 17%. Okay, those are huge numbers. The goal that we had was growth over last year. So it wasn't as if we were just like, like hedging our numbers, right? So we blew those out of the water. This is my favorite way to look at this. Well, I've got two more things that I love. So this section right here is us. So this is 2024 against 2023, okay? And you can see how we just blew our numbers out of the water compared to last year. I saw Steph start to laugh. Okay. By comparison, right? Look at what as a total WFR MLS did. Okay, so on the same comparison of closed units, where we were up 64%, they were only up 10.5%. Okay, look at these comparisons. Closed volume, we were up 72-16. Listings taken, we were up 90. They were up 16. Do you guys know how hard that is to do, to buck the trend that much? Like, I am a numbers guy, admittedly. I've looked at numbers for 25 years as a career. Numbers don't behave this way unless you're actually doing the right activities to create those aberrations. So this is huge. This is indicative of the shift that you all get and continue to get. Okay, one final comparison. This is us. This is what Keller Williams International did. So these are month to month compared to last year. So this is like all of KWRI in February was down 0.6% in closed units. All of KW Utah, so the region, was up 15.3%. And again, we were up 64.4. So just look at those numbers and absorb that for a minute. What do you guys think? Keep shifting, keep up with what's going on. Bold is the next big step. Okay, it's the next big step. This right here is indicative of us taking market share. So you heard what Stephen said, get your unfair amount of the market. Okay, go get it, keep this going.
Oh, yeah, baby.
Congrats.
Look at your own numbers in this way. Mr. Bradford would love to schedule some time with you to show you how to compare your own trends.
Yep.
So that you see the story. What is the numbers tell you a story, guys. They always do. And the activities lie in the story, but the numbers tell us the story. So anyway, if you want some help with this, Chris will help you pull your own stuff and evaluate it.
Yep, yeah, we're definitely encouraging that for sure, and I mean, that's power in itself, when you go on a listing appointment to say, my numbers are outpacing the market by 60% or whatever it is, like, let the data do the talking, because that's the proof is in the numbers, right? And knowing how to effectively communicate that is so vital, but everybody got this email, right? Chris sent out emails to the whole office, has these stats, and he explained every single graph too, just kind of like what he just said, so look at that too. Okay, awesome. Let's bring up the burdeners. Tell us what you got going on, baby. Right now. To go straight forward.
Hey, everybody, thank you. We'll just take a couple minutes before you start. What are you paying? Why are you?
Yeah.
We'll talk about it.
He's like, I don't care about anything else. I just want to know.
Yeah.
No, we like to take care of our buyers. If anyone's seen any of our listings through this whole thing, we've been at 3%. So
Oh, wait.
So we have an opportunity to share with you guys, hopefully help everybody in this room. This is on the east end of Ogden, literally right against the mountain. The trails, the running trails and all that are right there. And we've got 38 units coming. We're gonna release them in 3s and 4s. So later this week, we're gonna put 3 of them up. So we just wanted to give you a quick, you don't have to worry about it, we'll skip some of these. So this is.
They probably won't want to see the pictures anyway.
Yeah, I was gonna say, we have a Rambler version and we have a 2-story version. So.
But I want to show something. You know how everyone says close to trails and then you get to the house and you're like, where's the trail? The trail is right there. There's actually 2.
Is this right, north of like the Black Park?
North of Ben Lomond High School. So you're gonna go north of there and then you're gonna go east on Hudson all the way to the top.
Okay.
So you would never know this is there if you didn't hike. And about maybe a year and a half ago, we were like, who's moving dirt way the heck up there? Like, who's gonna build there? That's what's going on.
Anybody know where the school for the deaf and blind is?
Yes,
It's,
yeah.
it's
Big
just,
there.
you go east to the
Just
mountain.
sit there.
Right there. Okay. So it's right against the mountain, snuggled up nice. So this is the, we just want to show you a couple of the elevations, so you kind of have an idea and you can talk to us about it, but they're brand new, obviously, and the construction is, every builder has like different packages. They just went high and they offered that. They're not playing around with trying to put a low quality product out. So that was good to know. So this property is about 560 and most of them will be right around that 560 to 600. They try to bring it down as far as they could. It's hard, it's market. And then there's going to be a few of them in there, probably about 5 of them that'll be close to the 7. But
are all the basements finished?
Yes, and the 700 one is probably gonna end up being a little bit more than 700 because it's actually going to be considered 3-story. There's gonna have like a walk-in basement and then 2 stories above that. And they plan on finishing all of them.
So we use the terrain around there to build these, so they're all a little bit different, which is nice. So PRUD is what Ogden calls it, PUD almost everywhere. But so these are just some of the different elevations of the Rambler. You can see it depends on where the mountain is. Some of them will be walkouts like that. And then there is a 2-story version. They did nice with the finishes and such. Can't see the whole thing, but on the backside is a big
really
deck
cool
that
deck
goes
on
out
the
and looks
other
all
side.
over the city. So all of these will have views of both the mountain and the city.
And then HOA too. Okay.
Yeah, so the idea is to lifestyle, active lifestyle. You don't have to do anything. They take care of all the yard and all that kind of stuff. They do have bigger yards than most places, so it'd be a nice spot for you. But we wanted to show you that, and then these are some of the elevations that will be up there, so not everything is exactly the same. You have a couple of drinks, you want to do it wrong.
They're so cute.
Yeah.
So this is the layout. As you can see, Hudson comes up from Harrison, so that's very end. And then it'll look a little bit like that when it's all done.
Beautiful area.
And then these are, so this grade in area, these are the backyards. So they're a little bit bigger than other PUDs in the area. And they're gonna allow you to fence them and do all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so you can basically do pretty much whatever you want a lot, but you don't technically own it.
Yeah.
So that's gonna be a little bit different.
All right. So that, and that's what it'll look like kind of from the street.
No, technically.
So it's like a common area, but only you can use it.
Yeah, you own.
It's gonna be
you
really
own
different.
Under the foundation. So it's kind of like a townhome, because it's a PUD. But they're allowing you, we wrote into the CCNRs that you can fence in a large portion of it. And keep
You
that.
can put a pergola if you want to do things to it.
Yes.
It's a very lenient HOA.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, the cool thing about this too, there's so many neat things about these properties, but we had some input, which was great on building some of them, and I've shown houses before that would have great views, and then you walk in and you're like, oh, the views are over here behind this wall. They put windows everywhere, even in the garages. You go in the garage, you're like, oh, there's nice windows, I can see the view, so that's great, they took good advantage of that.
If anybody needs anything, please ask us. We're releasing our first 3, I think tomorrow.
Hopefully,
Either
yeah.
tomorrow or Thursday. They'll be out on the MLS. And yes, we love letters.
Thank you, guys. I'll send out their contact information and all of these slides in the recap email, for today, so. Okay, we're gonna get going with Russie.
Let's do it.
Bring her up, baby. Hi, guys.
Hi, Rusty.
Hey, excited to be here. Okay, so yeah, look at that little leprechaun flying in the pot of gold. Did everybody have a good St. Patrick's Day? I didn't even drink green beer. It was weird. But anyway, I want to talk today. So we obviously there's some changes coming on how there's really not changes coming on how we get paid because we've always been paid by commission. We have to become much better at articulating how we're getting paid and the value that we're providing in exchange for our services, right? So I don't know for you when you got started in the industry, but it was really common when I got started that they would train you to actually say, you know what, Dalton, the best part when we work together, you don't even have to pay me. I work for you for free. And the reality was I wasn't working for free. I was getting paid, right? And that was the common verbiage that was used. And so we wanted to take some time to walk through why it's important to have a value proposition, what your strategy session should look like, and just go through a couple key pieces with buyers. So Gary's opinion, and I think this is great. Gary in the vision speech, his most blunt take said that buyers agents aren't doing enough to explain how they get paid and why they're worth it. If you want to understand fundamentally how the industry got sued, it's because you don't do this. You are being accused of not being transparent, Keller said. Do it, damn it. If you're not, do it. Okay, do it, damn it. Do it. If you're not doing it, maybe you should get the hell out. This is from Gary Keller. And he says, there's a thing called professionalism. There's a thing called service. Try it. You might like it. Right? Which I thought was hilarious and also so true, you guys. Another thing he said, if you ask me what should change in the industry more than anything else, it's that every one of you leave here and for the rest of your life, when you meet a potential buyer, you pull out your value proposition, your service plan, you pull out a buyer agency agreement and you go through it and you explain how you work and how you get paid. There's a lot of conspiracies of where this all started and where it came from and who's behind the lawsuits and all of those things. But at the end of the day, guess what? It's on us because we did not do a very good job being transparent of how we were getting paid. Now in Utah, I think we're way ahead of everything else, which is great. There's been some changes recently to the buyer's agency agreement. UAR Forms is probably like, damn, we should have probably waited a couple weeks on that one, right? Because I don't think they knew that NAR was going to settle so quickly. But there's just a few things that I think are really important. Is just his key points are, it would benefit the real estate market if the agents who don't want to sell real estate just actually got out of business. And that sounds kind of harsh, right? But at the end of the day, guys, that's the reality we're facing. We either have to rise up as professionals and act like the professionals that we're being paid to be, or really it might be time to consider something different in this industry. And I don't want anyone in this room to be that person. I say this in Ignite every time I teach it. I don't want anybody in that room to be one of the statistics that a year from now is not even considering staying in business. But the reality is, this will happen if we don't shift and get better at telling our value and why we're getting paid what we're being paid, okay? So how are you going to set yourself apart from the competition? So this is just my little pro tip, that you have to be able to articulate what makes you the best realtor for them. You have to know your clients and you have to anticipate their needs and be prepared to deliver them a high value. You guys have heard me say this before, that I'm not everybody's cup of tea, but I'm certainly somebody's shot of whiskey. And I align with the people that the people that I serve, I know who they are, I know what kind of experience they're looking for. They're my ideal clients. I think it's really important for you to be able to look at yourself and say, what do I provide? How would I be the very best realtor for that person? And one of the things as newer agents that I hear, and I think that if we take newer out of it, we're all in a shifting, it's a big change in our industry right now, right? So when you look at it that way, every single person in this room, we're newer to what this is gonna look like, right? So it doesn't matter if you've been in business for 45 years or 65 years, like Sean, or if you've been in business for an hour, at the end of the day, everybody's having to adjust to these new changes, and you have to be able to articulate what makes you the best realtor for that person, okay? So we're gonna talk a little bit about your unique value proposition. So a couple things that your unique value proposition should have is why would they want to work with you? Does anybody has anybody actually done an exercise to go through their unique value proposition for buyers specifically? Dalton, I know you have. Anyone else? So I do have a couple little of these activities. If you guys haven't done it, you want one of these, it's just a little exercise to help you walk through. But when you think about your unique value proposition, it should be a clear, concise statement that communicates the value and the service that you provide. That's really what it should be, right? It doesn't need to be this big, elaborate, it shouldn't be enormous. It should be a clear, concise statement that says, I'm sure if anybody wants them, they're just a little 2-sheeter. If you guys haven't done it, it's just a little exercise that has you walk through a couple things. Where did you do it? Did we do it?
We did. Remember, we needed it together. And that mine was long.
Oh,
and
yeah, I did tell you.
Yeah.
I gave Steph some true feedback. If you ever want real feedback, I'll give it to you.
About it. I'm like, I did.
Actually. So it should be clear and concise that communicates the value and the services that you provide. If there's something that makes you unique, it should be in your unique value proposition. It is unique. I think that it's important to understand your ideal client and why that's your ideal client. You may not appeal to everybody. There's a lot of people in this room. There's a lot of different personalities. Someone might resonate better with Christy than they're going to resonate with Chris, right? And that's okay because whoever resonates with Chris is probably not going to resonate with Wade, right? So we're all unique. What makes you unique and who is your ideal client? I think that's a really important thing to narrow down, and not that you're going to say, oh, I'm not going to work with you because you're not my ideal client. But if you are crystal clear on who your ideal client is and what that experience looks like for them, if they were walking into a situation as a buyer, what would the ideal experience look like for your client? You're going to be able to curate an experience around it. And the whole purpose of everything that we do is to make money, right? Nobody's in here just because they're like, you know what, I just love hanging out all day with my friends and I'm cool if I don't ever make any money. That's a lie. You guys, nobody got licensed because you were like, I'd like to be the most educated broke person ever and have the most fun with my friends. No, you got your real estate license and you started your business to make money, okay? So knowing who your ideal client is and creating an experience around what's going to be best for your client and then being able to duplicate that, what does that eventually bring back to you? Repeat and referral business. And isn't that easier? Going after repeat and referral business, those are way easier. Dalton, would you rather have someone call you and say, hey, you just worked with so-and-so and they have such a great experience. I'm wondering if you could help me buy a house. Would you rather have that, or would you rather cold call 100 people to hopefully get one appointment?
I'll take option
A, right? And yet, if I ask Trevor the same question, Trevor's going to tell me, no, I absolutely do not want to talk to anybody that I know. Just give me the list and I'm going to hammer it out, right? 2 different personalities, 2 different value propositions. Right? So the reason it's unique is because it should be unique to you and your business, keeping in mind who is your ideal client and what does their experience look like. Think through in your unique value proposition as you're working through this, how can you help them? Like, what are you going to do that's going to help them get to their end result? What do they need in an experience and how do you provide it? And then make sure that you are the market expert. It does not matter if you've sold 1 home or 1 million homes. as long as you're willing to understand and get educated about the market. Because there's a lot of people that sold a lot of homes accidentally, quite frankly, over the last few years. And I don't think they're the market expert. I think they got lucky. And I think they stumbled into some things, and the market's not going to save us this time. It's really not. So set yourself apart as a market expert. There's a lot of ways to become a market expert. You can look at stats on MLS. You can come to team meetings. We talk about things all the time. You can mastermind in a group. You can study an exact area. If you want to be the queen of Layton, you can know every single thing there is to know about that and advertise yourself as a market expert. So those are some things that I think are important to have in your unique value proposition. As you're thinking through your value proposition, this was from a profile from our friends at NAR. Gosh, you know what, guys, they did something for us. That's good. Looks like they did a little survey for us. But this is saying what buyers want most in their agent. And as you're thinking through your unique value proposition and your strategy session with your buyer, think through what your buyer really needs. So 52% said the most important thing that they want from their agent is to help them find the right home to purchase. Weird. So maybe what you should be thinking about in your strategy session is how are you going to help them find the right home for them? And what is that process going to look like? The second most important thing is to help them negotiate the terms of the sale. So they want you to help them negotiate. They want help with price negotiation. And then 24% is other. But what kind of things could be an other? Just out of curiosity. I was like, other. Right house, right price, negotiate a good deal. What else? What did you say? Communication. Communication. I didn't hear you, Lindsay.
I said these Easter eggs.
The Easter egg hunt. That's what they want. All this extra. Drive them around. Local knowledge, right? Relocation. There's a lot of people that relocate to Utah. That could be something that they're looking for. So these are the things they want most for their agent. And then when asked what factors buyers value when choosing an agent, 20% said that they want an agent who's honest and trustworthy, which is kind of crazy that's so small. 19% said they're relying on their experience. 17% said that they look at the reputation of the agent. And then 44% is a big, huge, vague other. Again, I think this is where you're seeing a lot of a recommendation, right? I got a recommendation from somebody, and I don't know why they didn't factor it out that way. I'm putting together a list of things I'd like to talk to NAR about. So if you guys have anything, I'm going to be in DC in May. But 44% said other are the values that they're looking for when choosing the agent. The reason I put this in here is because I think a lot of agents just go, you can trust me and I'm great and I'm trustworthy and I'm going to do a good job for you. How do you articulate that? And is that in alignment with what your client wants and needs, right? So think of what that other might be for you and why would they choose to work with you over somebody else? Fun fact, do you guys think that it might be a little bit more competitive in a buyer's agent world these days when we have to articulate our value a little better? I think you hear pretty frequently about listings that sellers interview 1 to 3 agents, right? Typically, who gets it? First or the last. Middle guy, sorry, you guys are screwed. You're never going to get the deal. It's going to be very unlikely if they're interviewing 3 that number 2 is going to get it. But unless you send cookies
when they're meeting with agent 3. If they let that slip, you order cookies.
Send something there. I love it.
Is on.
They are. But I think you will see more and more buyers that interview 1 to 3 agents instead of just calling or interviewing with the first person they see. I think you will see some people choosing agents a little differently because it's a little more skin in the game when you're having conversations around how they're going to compensate you, right? And I think that's one of the things with listings, why they have been more competitive. I think you're going to start to see that same landscape with buyers. So make sure when you look at this, you're just thinking, if they're looking for someone who's honest, trustworthy, they've got experience, they have reputation, and then this big, vague other, what's in that other that might attract them to work with you versus work with somebody else? That make sense? I'm going to fly because we got 24 minutes. This is straight from the MREA. So the top 10 areas of service of the buyer's value proposition. I think it's on page 95 in the MREA, if I remember right. And this will give you, if you look at this on page 95, it gives you a couple of examples under each thing. But these are the top 10 areas that when you're having a strategy session with your buyer, or you're thinking through your buyer presentation, these are the areas that the buyer needs your help in. So you need to get really good at your needs analysis, right? 52% said that they wanted you to help them find the right home. So a really good needs analysis is going to help them find the right home, right? Pre-qualification or pre-approval. You guys don't show homes to people that aren't pre-approved. It doesn't make sense. It's a waste of your time. It's a waste of their time. If they don't know their budget, it makes zero sense for you to be spending time going out and looking at homes. So make sure that you're helping them with that process. They are coming to you because they want neighborhood information. We just talked a few minutes ago about people relocating. How often do you have people say, what are the schools like in this area? What are the daycares like? Where do I take my dog to get groomed, right? They want neighborhood information from you. Obviously, they want help with a home search. If your typical process as a buyer's agent was waiting for the buyer to send you the 4 homes that they want to see that day, it might be time to up your game. It really might. If that's the only service you're providing is getting the 4 homes, clicking on a line showing, setting up the appointment, meeting them at the house, saying which one do you like the best, you're a door opener. And you'll probably get paid less than someone who is going to be able to articulate their value and all the different things that they provide. Okay. They're going to need help making an offer. What is that going to look like? When you're having that strategy session, walk them through what that process looks like. You do this every day, or at least once a week. Offers if you're not writing. When was the last time they bought a home, if ever? Right? So walk them through what the process, what should they expect? What's coming next? Right? That's one of the most asked things is people don't know what's next. Make sure they always know what's coming next. Negotiations. Our job is to negotiate. Something tells me a lot of us are going to be way better at it when we're having to negotiate now our commissions too. Right? So negotiation to buy is part of your job. They want your help with vendor coordination. I'm going to talk about introducing the people that you work with as part of your team. They are an extension of you. They are a reflection of you, and they are part of your team. So they want help with this. You guys have heard me say before, anytime that someone thinks of anything home related, I want them to think, not that they should call the plumber because their sink is leaking. I want them to think, I got to call Russie. She's going to know a plumber. Anything in their house, I want them to think of me first. Well, that starts in your very first meeting with them when you're talking through, oh, I know a guy. I have a guy for that. Oh, these stucco issues, no big deal. I've got a stucco guy, right? So that vendor coordination and getting that all lined up is part of your value proposition too. What's your pre-close preparation? They want your help knowing what to expect throughout that process and how do you get them set up to then have a great closing and then the post-closing process. When are you checking in with them along the way? If these are things you haven't thought about, I really encourage you, look at page 95 in the MREA and every single one of these 10 pieces, say, give yourself a grade. How am I doing right now in my needs analysis? Do I need to bump that up a little bit? Do I need to expand it? Or is it too long? Do I need to cut some things out of my needs analysis? Look through all of these and say, in every experience, how would I want this to look? What do I want the post-closing experience to look like? Am I asking them for a review? When? Am I checking in to see how, Sally's adjusting to school? When? Did they find the groomer in the area they needed? When are those things going to be there? So think through each piece of this and what you want that experience to look like. Pick 2 or 3 things and then put them into command in a system. We're going to talk about systems. A great experience, I believe, starts with a great strategy session. So my little pro tip on this is meet at the office. Establish a professional relationship from the beginning. When you're setting up an appointment with your attorney, can you just be like, I don't really want to go to your office. Could we just meet at Starbucks? Is your attorney going to say yes? Or your doctor? Is your doctor going to be like, absolutely. I'll just come look at your broken bone. Let's just grab a quick cup of coffee.
I mean, the
Meet
best
at the
doctors use
office.
that. Mine's right.
What did you say?
I do text my doctor.
You can text your doctor, you've probably established that. at the beginning. But if something's serious, he's gonna be like, Lindsay, you need to come in, I can't diagnose you over the text, right? Oh, so maybe some pictures you shouldn't be sending. Establish your professional relationship from the very beginning. Be prepared to share what you'll be providing to them as their agent. And then I just like to have command open. I've already set them up. When I'm meeting with a buyer, I've already set them up in my system. I have their agency agreements ready to go. All I've got to do is hit send so that as I'm sitting there with them, we can talk through it. But so I just have it pulled up and I'm just typing notes as I'm talking to them going through that. Because now I can go back and I remember like, oh yeah, they talked about this. This was important to them. This was important to them. So started out with a great strategy session. The good news is that now based on these settlement requirements, it's going to give us a really great excuse to meet them first because that's really our only option. We have to have an agency agreement signed before we start showing homes. Okay, so this is a great thing of, hey, just so you know, I'd like to meet at my office. I'll do a quick strategy session with you. I want to make sure you're set up for success so that we can make this as smooth a process as possible. Okay. Your consultation you're going to build your confidence with your client by having a well thought out and relevant strategy session. So first things first is just going to be a needs analysis. Get to know them a little bit. Talk to them. What's important to them. You'll start to pick up on their personalities. Eden's doing a disc class on
First Tuesday in April, whatever that is.
the 2nd of April. It's a CE class. And that will help you a ton if you are not used to doing a sit down strategy session with your buyer. It is a little different, in my opinion, than a listing appointment, right? Because the listing appointment is primarily, you're also doing a needs analysis, but it's a lot about the home, right? How fast do they need to move? What condition is the house in? All of those things. So if you're not familiar with it, get good at asking the questions, get to know them a little bit, walk them through what the process looks like. There's a lot of different ways you can do this. I'm going to show you some in command. I have like a little one sheet that's just a wheel of like, number 1, meet with the professional. Yay, you're here. Yay, we've already crossed off one step. Number 2, meet with your lender. And it goes through the process. And I just quickly touch on each little thing of what that looks like and what to expect along the way. And the whole time I'm reminding them, I'm going to be here with you and I'm going to be reminding you of these things. But just so you have an overview, this is what that process is going to look like. Again, they may not have bought a home for 10 years. They may have never bought a home. They may be somebody that's buying a home every month. And either way, they're going to want to just quick, hey, you remember this process. I know we just did it not that long ago. Here's what to expect next. Agency agreements should absolutely be part of this consultation or conversation. There should be no reason that you walk out of this strategy session and you do not have an agency agreement signed. There's really no reason. It's an easy transition. You've talked through what they need. You've talked through the process. You've asked them questions. Now, you know what? There's a couple contracts that we have to have in place. And let's walk through those now. Okay, so we're answering questions. Also, I think it's good to just have some frequently asked questions. Depending on how savvy of a buyer they are, they may not have done this for a while. They may not even know what to ask. So there's going to be probably some questions that are triggered by your conversation with them that they'll ask you along the way. But it's also good to just have some frequently asked questions. So what are the most common questions that come up? The better the upfront experience, the better the consumer experience is going to be, right? So if we have a really good conversation and then we're bringing them back to, oh, you remember, we talked about this. This is that process that we're in right now, right? So you're reassuring them that we've already had the conversation, but think through what are those frequently asked questions and maybe even have a list of them in your buyer packet, right? Hey, here's the most frequently asked questions that I get. How much time does that save you? So much time. Why? Because they're going to go back and look at that. It's the same reason why we do canned emails, right? Every single person that goes under contract gets, every buyer that goes under contract, every seller that gets under contract gets an email from me with the steps of what to expect next. Why? It saves me so much time. And then I get to say, oh yeah, you remember that. I sent that in the email. So if you have more questions about it later, let me give you a quick overview right now. And then we can talk through it, but they know they can go back to their email, right? So frequently asked questions, I think, are a great thing to include in your consultation packet. This is just some suggestions on things. And by the way, this is just going to be my plug for Ignite for a second, because I think that sometimes as agents, we think that if we've been in business for a while, we don't have to do things like Ignite. so much of this content is straight out of Win with Buyers from Ignite. So if you are at a place where you're really rethinking some of your systems or some of your processes, or you're not sure what it really looks like for you right now, this is straight out of the Win with Buyers guide from Ignite, but just some things that you should be thinking through. And this is 26 different things. You don't need to have every single one of these things in your packet if you don't want to. This is where your relationship and your unique value proposition is different than Steph's. Steph may have 50 things in her, right? You may have 2. It doesn't matter as long as you're creating the experience and you know what's in the packet and why it's there. So a couple things that I did think were really valuable in this is the local market, right? So again, setting ourselves apart as a market expert. If they haven't bought a home for a long time, they may not know what the market is. Or if they're just looking at the headlines that are the little clickbait headlines, they may not know what the market is, what's actually happening in the market right now. I think every buyer under 500 right now is surprised when we get into multiple offers. And the reality is that price point is still a really popular price point, right? So knowing the information and giving them some market analysis, and you don't have to dive deep onto all of these things, but you just have to touch on them and have the information there so that they know that you're there. I think it's really helpful to have your lender information and the items that are required for a loan. If they haven't already been approved, how nice is that they just all have already everything ready? Instead, they go on the website and then they're like, oh crap, I gotta go find this. Now I gotta go find this. Now I gotta go find this. If you just get a list of items that are going to be required from your lender, that's a great thing to just have in there. And again, you don't have to go through every single piece of this.
Yeah, I was speaking to the title person just the other day and they said, ask for an underwritten pre-approval.
Yes, and Tommy's going to talk a little bit about loan process and how to overcome some objections as well. But that would be on the list side as well, or someone that maybe came to you already qualified for sure. This is somebody that maybe you're helping guide that process of why you would want to include that in there. I know a lot of people put a sample contract in the packet. The representation agreement should be there, a questionnaire. There's a lot of different things in there. So pick and choose what you want this to look like. This is just a home wish list. This is directly out of Command. So this is something that you could put in part of your buyer packet. These are just some questions that you're going to be asking them. Who's going to be living in the home? It's different if they have pets that they need a yard for, and those pets could be different. Do they have a pony? Is that their pet? Or is there a kitty cat that never goes outside because it's been declawed? Those are 2 different homes we're looking at, right?
That's hairless.
What did you say?
One's hairless.
Or it's hairless and it doesn't.
And it can't, because it will get summer.
It'll get summer, it'll get cold, right? Those are 2 different things versus you're like, well, yeah, I've got a pet, I got my pony, because my daughter only wanted it when she was 8. Right, so, and then the top 5 non-negotiables, I think are so important. What are the non-negotiables? And then beyond those, what do they really need, right? When you're helping them find the perfect home, remember that was 52% of buyers just said, I just need an agent to help me find the right house. Ask them what their non-negotiables are, because this is also going to help you narrow down your search. What happens when people start looking? Oh boy, they want to look at everything. Every single house that ever comes on, they're like, well, this one came on today. We should go see it. And then if we know they're non-negotiables, you're like, oh gosh, guys, do you know what you told me in our very first meeting that was non-negotiable was a minimum of a 1/4 acre yard and a 3rd car garage. This has a carport and it's on 0.2. Do we want to go see this? Have our needs, have your needs changed? Right? Because maybe their needs did change. Maybe they're like, well, if I could get that kitchen, I would give up the garage. Great, now we know we need to make an adjustment in our search, right? So make sure this is part of your needs analysis. If you haven't done this before, practice makes sense. So I think we should all start practicing what we're doing a little more. This is just some examples of how the home buying process works. Again, these are guides in Command. I am certain, because Nicole has so many tech classes on the calendar, I'm sure she's got something scheduled, or if she doesn't, it will be coming up on how to create this for yourself. There's several different options for a buyer presentation in Designs and Command. This is now talking about your value proposition. By the way, these numbers right here, if you're a brand new agent, use your office numbers. Now, don't lie and say, yeah, I sold all those homes myself, because that is gonna defeat the purpose of the number one thing that people look for is trustworthy and honest. But say, my office does this amount. This is what our numbers look like over last year. This can be a little bit about yourself if you want it to be there. This is all customizable. It's just right here in command, design, search buyer. You'll find a lot of different options. And also, these are really long. In my opinion, I don't think you need a 70-page guidebook. If you want one, you can have that. I think they're mostly all around 30-ish pages. I think you could narrow that down to like 10 pages or less and just make it really packed with great information. Agency agreements, we're running out of time. Guys, when should we get an agency agreement for showing homes? Why? Well, because that's new requirement. We are not gonna actually have an option. So that's why, there you go, because you're in compliance and our brokers would really love that. And then anybody who's on the rep seat has to sign it. Just remember that. Don't get stuck in the trap of meeting with one person out of the couple, because you're not gonna be able to have a legally binding agreement if two people need to be on the contract and only one person is on your agency agreement. Make sure that you know what the changes are and you are able to articulate how you are going to get paid and why you are getting paid that and what that's going to look like. Okay, I think that this is why we always see when people first get into the industry, we see them really lean heavy on the buyer side and not so much on the list side. I think part of that is, as newer agents, we have a hard time articulating our value. And on the buy side, it's been a little easier. We didn't have to actually break down what that was going to look like when they paid us. And so get better at that. Do you know how you get better at it? Doing it, explaining it to people. Sit down with somebody, say, hey, mom, will you do this? What was this? Is some newfangled thing. Weird. Do you know what's weird is top agents in the country still practice every day.
Chris Brower does it at 9:30 in the morning.
Every morning. So anyway, practice this with each other. And also for extra bonus points, practice it with somebody who's not in the industry, who's going to ask you questions that doesn't look at a contract. Right? Because if Kaylee and I play buyer, she's the buyer's agent and I'm the buyer, I know more about it, so I'm probably going to ask different questions. I'm mostly going to probably try to stump you and make you ask things, right? But if you practice that with maybe your sister who's not in the industry, she would have different questions. She's going to come at you with different things. So that's why I think it's really important to practice that. If you guys have not seen this, this is the new updated form. It was updated March 4th. Again, I bet you AR is like, there will be some updates to this as well. But make sure you know this. Ken's compliance class went over this last Friday, I believe. Make sure you understand, read it. First of all, read it and understand it yourself. And then take it to the next level of explaining how are you going to get paid? Because you see these big things here that say these are not set fees. It's due and payable unless otherwise agreed to in writing. So this gives you options that says, hey, this fee might be satisfied by a third party. If it is, great. If it's not, there's options and this is still how I'm going to be paid. So for me to work for you, this is what I charge. And guess what? The good news is that I may be able to negotiate on your behalf so that you don't have to pay all of this. In the event I can get this negotiated, great. In the event that I can negotiate half of it, you're going to pay the other half, right? And make sure you have that conversation up front. Again, going back to professionals, right? I love when Gary was like, it's called professionalism. It's called service. Give it a try. You might like it. When we are going into, I went to the dentist today. When I went into the dentist and they told me how much it was going to be for my stupid cavity, my old filling that popped down, I got to get it fixed. They didn't go, what's going to be this? And I was like, ooh, would you ask that guy to pay it for me? Would you ask them if they would? And we could negotiate that on my behalf. I actually wanted to pay it. Could we do that? Right? This is a negotiation. Those are set fees. We don't walk into it expecting. I go in there knowing this is what the service is going to be. Here's what I'm going to pay for it. And now we have an agreement. Be clear with the service you're providing, what you charge for it, and now you have an agreement. Does that make sense? Systematize things. You guys, I cannot reiterate enough how important it is to have a system that you can follow every single time. no matter who the person is, they should have the same experience, right? Based on, and when you're thinking through, so when you're looking at command, you can edit your stages, what makes sense for your business, add checklists for every single stage, add 3 to 5 tasks that are going to be triggered when you move someone into that piece of the pipeline. So if you're nurturing a client and they go from nurture to hot lead, what do you want to happen when they move into that next phase of the pipeline? What's your unique experience? Maybe you're going to send them a handwritten card at that point. Maybe that's when you set up the hot sheet. Now you're setting up an appointment. You're going to send cookies to their house when they go under contract or when they get pre-approved, whatever it is. If you create tasks around it, it makes it so that it's a repeatable experience and it can scale. Okay. Also use smart plans. Determine what smart plan you're going to use. Are they going on to an 8x8 and then a nurture? What is it going to use? And again, don't forget post-close, right? There's post-close things in there. This is just a buyer service cycle. Every single one of these, I would say, figure out what you want that unique system to look like as you're talking to people and create a system around it. This is just an idea of what those systems look like. It's really easy. There's your pipeline. I believe pipeline, they're going over opportunities tomorrow. Today, from 2 to 3. If you guys just got really good at your pipeline, you're talking with the buyer and you're cultivating them, drop them into the cultivate phase and have some tasks built around what you want that process to look like. Then nothing's slipping through the cracks and you don't have to constantly try to remember what that's going to be. This is what happens when my people move into hot. They get a personal card. I send them a link to the app. I add them to a smart plan for the neighborhood, and then I connect them with my preferred lender, right? So that's happening. As soon as I move them into there, all these tasks become an updated task. And then remember your smart plans. I just went in and typed buyer in library. That's all I typed. I didn't do anything else. There's 1,722 results that popped up for buyer smart plans. You guys, if you cannot find something that you connect to in 1,722 plans, first of all, you're overthinking it. But second of all, the good news is you can phrase it. You can say, I like 10 of these 15 steps, but these 5 are garbage. Get rid of them or add something else in. It's customizable. Now is the time to lean in and do it. And it's our proprietary technology. We own it. We own it. Yesterday, when we were on our growth call, I was like, all these bells just started going off because you guys realize within Keller Williams listing system in a toggle, they could put every commission being offered for every single one of Keller Williams listings in the United States. Why? Because we own the technology. Okay. So lean into it, systematize, get ready. If you don't know how, this is my little plug for Nicole. Schedule a one-on-one with her. She's pretty awesome. I'm gonna have Tommy come up and talk for just 1 second. My tip is to have trusted people on your team, introduce them as part of your team from the very beginning. Hey, you're going to meet my inspector, so-and-so. You're gonna meet my lender. You're gonna meet my plumber. Whatever it is, have them as part of your team. Also, let your clients know, I tell them, they are part of my team. If you are ever not receiving excellent service, I expect that you're gonna tell me. Why? Why would we do that? Because if Tommy's being a jerk, it's a reflection on me because he's part of my team. Okay, so I wanted Tommy to just share with you a couple of things from a buyer standpoint. What are some of the hesitations we're seeing? How are we getting people off the fence? What are some fun stories?
Yes, I'll be quick. I know you guys are short on time. I did get my business cards in. I'm gonna pass those around if you guys want one. My business cards are great because on the back, it just has a quick picture that they can go and that takes them right to our loan application.
Nice.
So like Russie said, buyers are liars, right? You want to know if you're gonna waste all your weekends and your time showing these buyers something and they can't qualify. So they need to qualify and you need to know what's going on with them. First thing we're gonna look at is credit. Buyers are always looking at their free credit scores on all their different services. We all know that those come in quite a bit higher, right? Those are all inflated. Those algorithms are different than the ones that the credit bureaus are actually using. So every time people are like, oh, I have a 760, it's usually 740, 740, it's 700. So those are usually inflated, just so you guys know. We did have a buyer pull credit this last weekend. She texted me and said, you've got to make it stop. I've been getting 25, 30 different calls from lenders and you have got to make this stop. And I said, well, you can thank your credit bureaus for selling off your information.
So that's what they do. They actually sell the information of the client and you're gonna get hit by a ton of different lenders after somebody pulls credit. So one option we can do is we can go to opt-out pre-screen. It's a website that I suggest buyers go to. You can actually go and unsubscribe from credit card offers. And sometimes that can help to eliminate some of that stuff. But I know that there are some legislation trying to go to fight against the credit bureau selling off your information. So we try to tell buyers that initially, but just know that that's going to be happening as well. Couple success stories that we're seeing. Obviously with buyers, me and Russie had a buyer she sent our way. Buyer has a current home in Clinton. Their housing payment is $1,748. Russie suggested they think about maybe renting that house out and then moving on and purchasing the next one. They have some kids that need a place to stay. Kids can now rent that house for $2,500 a month. We can use 75% of the rents, which is going to offset that whole payment, right? $1,875 in rents to offset $1,748. They actually have positive rental income from that. We can use their existing residence as a rental, and now they can go and move to that next house. So not only is she helping her clients, she's keeping an investment property for them that's cash flowing and helping the kids out, right? Because the kids probably can't find a $2,500 rental that has that much square footage or whatever. So win-win, right? That's a big win on the buyer side and Russie's side as well to help create wealth for that buyer. So we actually used that on another buyer that I just closed yesterday, my first deal as Unity lender.
Ever.
That I've ever closed in my 20 years now. First deal with Unity. I did 20 years. I got my first deal. No, been here since the 15th. So super excited about my first closing. Happened yesterday, but we did use a lease agreement on a physician that bought a house down in St. George. We also used future income from a contract that he has down there. So those are things that we utilize to help that buyer move in to that house. We have a buyer adding a daughter as a owner occupant from Rhonda and Corey. Thank you guys. So a daughter is going to college at the U. They want to buy her a condo so she has somewhere to stay, investment property for them, but they can actually add the daughter on the loan and use it as an owner occupied loan so they don't have to pay non-owner occupied rates. So we looked at that non-owner occupied rates, 20% down, you're seeing like 8, 8, and 8. And that's with like 2-3 points. So that's very expensive. So if we can add the daughter on, we're going to establish some credit. So that's something we're walking them through. Add her as an owner occupant. Now they can use an owner occupied loan. Can what?
Let's say I want to buy a home in St. George and my parents can't afford to purchase a home and I don't want that sitting empty and I want them to live in that home. Can that scenario work?
Yes, great question. So there are lending guidelines that allow kids to buy parents a home as an owner occupied home. They have to usually show that the parents can't qualify on their own. So sometimes they just require tax returns, etc. So yeah, great question there. We had a loan down in St. George as well. I got a 7-day clear to close from submission. We were able to beat out a Chase and an HSBC on a jumbo loan. It was $1 million loan. We got them a 6.375 rate. We did have quite a bit of seller pays on that one, like 30 grand. So that helped buy the rate down for them.
I was like,
yeah. And then we were able to beat out another loan servicer that they were working with. They were trying to work with their loan servicer and this lady wouldn't even provide them a loan estimate. It's crazy, but we were able to get that loan over and that's hopefully good. So we're seeing a lot of success. Unity is a broker. We're very competitive on our fees and rates and that stuff. So love to be a tool here for you guys with your buyers and just help where I can. So, yep. Any questions for me before I let you guys go? I do not speak Spanish. Speak some Tagalog, some Spanish, but that probably doesn't come in very handy. We did get the signs on the doors.
what? Wait.
Tagalog, Filipino. So yeah, it probably doesn't come in handy, but this is my office just back here, usually here at business hours. Love to meet with your clients if you guys have things here, just whatever I can do to help. So keep me posted. I'm here to be a tool for you guys. So
Love it.
yep.
Thanks, Tommy.
Thanks.
I think one thing along those lines is you don't have to be the expert on financing, but you should be the expert at asking what questions make sense. Like, I love that. Like, could I buy a house for my parents? I'm just now thinking to myself, I need to establish Addison's credit. Cause at some point she may wanna move out of my house, and why wouldn't we just buy something like that she's owner occupied? Think outside the box. You guys, I lost the listing by suggesting they keep that for an investment. But my question to every single person that has an existing home right now is real estate investing part of your long-term wealth plan? If the answer is yes, I am gonna try to find any way possible to be able to let them keep that house. Because guess what? The chances of them ever getting an investment property at 2 to 3% interest rate again is impossible, right? So now you're the hero. Like, she has sent me probably 5 messages. I'm just like, man, I can't even believe we didn't think about that. I feel like an idiot for not thinking about it. We always thought about rentals, but it was in the future, right? So many people don't think like that. So start thinking that way. There's been several this year that I've done. So be the expert. This is all of it. Be the expert. Practice your consultation. Get really good at explaining your value. And then just good luck. Because there's no reason you can't win in any market. This market specifically, I think, allows the cream to rise to the top, right? And the true professionals are gonna crush it in the next few years because we're gonna just blow away the competition who doesn't even know what, like, I promise you, there is some realtor right now sitting out there underneath their little rock, and they don't even know what an NAR settlement is. They don't even know what was happening. So they're gonna walk in completely unprepared and uneducated. Make sure that is not you, okay? That is all I have. Top rail fence. Hi, guys.
Thank you for having us this morning. We're gonna make it brief. We only got like, what, 25-30 minutes of material?
Yeah.
Kidding. So you're gonna learn this here in a second. For a long time, I sat out where you are. I was an agent, broker, coach, quote, all those things for a long time. And it is surreal to not be talking about real estate today, which is kind of crazy. What I learned in that time is from us, what you want to know is 3 things. You want to know who we are. You want us to teach you something new. And then you want to tell us why you should care to do business with us. And then just get the hell out of here so you can have fun, right? So, my name's Dave Johnson. I am a general manager of Top Rail Fence, 20 years in real estate, most of that with Keller Williams. Eden is the reason I'm here today. So thank her for bringing in great sponsors and vendors. These days, like I said, I run Top Rail Fence. We're a locally owned franchise that services industrial, residential, commercial. You need fencing, we can do it. This is my business partner, Rudy.
Hey guys, I'm Rudy. I'm the owner of Top Rail Fence. So my background and a fun fact about me, big corporate guy. So I was a VP at a finance company previously. And the fun fact, I think I can sing every Disney song. So I have 4 little kids. Yeah. Perfect. And I'm a local boy. Like, I went to Northridge High. I used to run around with a lot of the same guys in this office. I'm not going to tell you who they are because then you guys won't like me. And so, but Dave already mentioned like who we are. I feel like just in this industry, a lot of people don't have a fencing company or just who to call in general. There's so much synergy on what you're talking about, just with needs analysis, everything like that, that we go through on a day-to-day basis, because we are the true experts in the state when it comes to fencing. I do have a fun question for you guys and some money.
It's a gift card, it's not cash.
Yeah, not cash, not cash. Close enough. Yeah, first grade. It also, yeah. What is the most common reason why a fence would fail?
What's the failure point? Wait.
It's the foundation, like the, like.
I think she's close enough.
Like-
Yes, absolutely. Tell us why.
Because usually, and this is coming back to the point, because you were talking about earlier, somebody always has something that they need to keep in the yard or keep out of the yard, right? So foundation wise, water gets in at the base of that post or at the top of the post, which deteriorates it over time. Once one post fails, and it starts putting pressure on the other. I think a lot of you guys go up to Ogden. That's been like a hotbed for us lately because all the homes are like 40 years old, right? So the fences got installed then or new builds, right? So that's.
So the takeaway is, right, if your fence is failing, it's probably your posts. There are things you can do to eliminate that. And if you've got clients that need some of that information, come chat with us. We'll be out in the hall in a minute. So as far as why you should do business, okay? Really, it's because, as Rusty was talking about, number 7 on your value proposition, okay?
vendor referrals, vendor management. Y'all don't have time or bandwidth to be good at everything your clients need you to be good at, do you? No, right? So you got a book of people, right? You got your lender, you got your title people, you got your home inspectors. We're on that list because we're not the guys out there swinging hammers. We come from the background like this that understand that how the job is done is as important as the specifics of doing the job. So anyway, thank you so much. We'll leave some contact information. There's lunch on the table. Just thanks for having us, folks.
One thing I will leave you guys with, I told you I'd have a treat for you at the end. I don't know if you guys remember, but when I first started here, I put together a list of seller services that says before, during, after, whatever during the appointment, like a 5-page long working document. I did the same thing for our buyer one, and it's done. And I also coincided the whole checklist with links to command on how to do everything that Russie just said. So putting together the checklist of services and whatever, I already have it done. So I'm gonna give you guys a copy of it if you are signed up for the first day of Bold. So if you're not signed up already, please sign up right now. And the second piece of that is if you sign up for the full Bold, I've also put together milestone template emails because Russie had touched on communication and getting ahead of what's next for the clients. So I've already put together next steps emails to say, hey, congrats, we just finished buyer due diligence check process. Now upcoming is finance and appraisal. Here's what that means. So I've already put it all together for you guys, all that content. But I wanted to get that to make your guys' life a little bit easier. Okay.